how did you find the time to write a book? How did I find the time? Because I don't know how you're going to find the time. I really don't. Well, I owe it to the virtue of being unemployed so much. I have to work and love working as a cameraman. I mean, being a cameraman to me is like the best job in the world. So I don't want to stop doing that. And in fact, being a cameraman and shooting a lot of cop shows for Discovery and National Geographic and spending a lot of time with FBI agents and stuff like that has really informed my writing quite a bit. So I owe a lot of what I do, and if this book, is in any way pleasing to you or successful, I think a lot of that is owed to all the work that I've done as a cameraman. But working as a freelance cameraman, occasionally there is a day or two where you're not out filming anything. And so on those days, I would make it a point to, get up as early as I can and start writing till around noon and try to write maybe 1,000 or 2,000 words in a day if I can. That's my goal on days where I'm not filming anything. And then also when I'm filming things, I'm traveling, so I'm in airplanes, I'm in hotel rooms. It was really starting to get to me. And I really think that I ought to sue the airline industry over this, because if they hadn't locked me in all these airplanes for so many hundreds of hours, I wouldn't have had to do this. I was getting really bummed out by the fact that I was sort of locked in this airplane, traveling from one place to another, and I felt like a lot of time was just being wasted. And I wanted to make use of that time. And I've always loved reading these books, and I've always wanted to write one, so it just sort of came together that way. So, yeah, but I mean, I think that if you really want to write, you sort of find the time to do it. I mean, John Grisham, I was told, was writing his books, taking the train to and from work. That's when he would do his writing. He had like an hour commute each day. I don't advise that if you're driving yourself, though. Yeah. And don't read and drive either. Yes, another question. I guess the question is, what was the most difficult challenge? What's the hardest part about writing? What was the most difficult challenge of writing this book? God, where do you come up with this stuff? Hardest thing about writing this book was just sitting down and doing it. I mean, facing a blank page every day and giving yourself time to let your mind settle long enough that you could put something down on paper is a big part of it. I think that, in our culture, things are very immediate. And so when you sit down to do something, it's like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm starting it right now. But for me, at least, the writing process means that you have to sit down and you have to let your thoughts coalesce a little bit. It's kind of like a meditation in a way. So sometimes when I sit down, I'm ready to start because I've been thinking about it, like leading up to that moment. But a lot of times I sit down and I don't really have a clear idea of what I want to do, and it takes time for that to happen. So I don't beat myself up. Like if I sit down, I've got a 4-hour block of writing, and an hour's gone by and I haven't written a word, I wouldn't beat myself up over it, but I wouldn't do anything else either in that same period of time. I wouldn't answer emails, I wouldn't play solitaire, or cut my toenails. And there's a second part to your question.
Did you ever lose faith? Did you ever worry?
Did I ever lose faith or worry? On a daily basis, I would say. Yeah, but that's just me. I mean, it's kind of like running a race, and you just want to start, and hopefully you can reach some kind of finish line that you set for yourself. So, yeah. Here's a question up front.
How does your publisher quantify your book doing well?
Wow, how does it quantify my book doing well? I guess they would say if they went into a second or third printing, they would consider that the book was doing well. This is a very small print run, by the way, and anyone who's here today is walking away with a signed first edition of a book. There are only about 3,000, there are exactly 3,000 copies of this book out here, and about half of them are going to libraries, which leaves about 1,500 books floating around the United States, some of them signed, some of them not. So if there's demand for it, which brings me to an interesting point. If you like this book at all, I really appreciate if you told someone that you liked it. And if you like the book and you want to give the book to someone, that would be great too. And if you like the book but you don't want to give it and you don't want to keep it, you could give it to a library. So those are all good things to do. But please, if you like it, tell someone. I'm hopeful that they'll want to do a second book, and I would really like to be here a year from now talking about the second book. So yeah. Yes. What does it feel like to go through a lot of rejections before your book is finally accepted? Lousy. Yeah, I mean, what can you do about it? Well, sometimes a book is rejected and there's good reason for it. I wrote a novel before this that was rejected by everyone who saw it. I mean, I think if someone, you know, like if books were organs and you were going to transplant my book into someone else's body, it would get rejected. So, but also it's part of that process. And, you know, what I did was just look at lots of people who got a lot of rejections and went on to be successful. So there are plenty of examples of that out there. So I just, you know, I realized that, well, just because this person didn't like it doesn't mean that no one's going to like it. And so a lot of times it's just, you know, you keep knocking on doors until one opens. Yeah. There's a question way in the back. Yes, Kelly. The question was, have I thought about writing this as a screenplay and submitting it? No. No, you know, they publish a lot more mystery stories than they do mystery films every year. So fierce as the competition is to get something published as a book, it's even tougher to get something made into a movie. So if someone approached me and asked me to write a screenplay, I'd certainly think about it. But it's nothing that I want to write on my own as a speculative venture. I wouldn't want to write a screenplay about the book. I did do a trailer for the book, however, and the trailer's up on my website. So if you go to thomaskaufman.com, you can see the trailer, which was all volunteers and shot for no money. And people have seen the trailer and said, oh, well, now you have to make the movie. You know, you did this 1 minute, 38-second trailer. Making a movie now will be a snap for you. And so I think we'll have to wait a while before this is a film. Yes, John? Oh, the title, Drink the Tea. Well, I want to tell you, first of all, that this came up long before the Tea Party was in existence. So I don't want anybody saying that I'm shilling for the Tea Party, because I'm not. I mean, they're, you know. But a few years ago, some friends of ours, Nita and Chaz, got married. And part of their marriage ceremony was to have a Zen tea ceremony, which I had never seen before. And I was really fascinated by it. And I talked to the man who was doing the ceremony when it was finished, saying, how long does it take you to learn to do this? And he's told me, all of your life. It's kind of like Tai Chi in that, you know, the movements are very specific and prescribed, and you want to do it with a certain economy and a certain grace. And I just thought that was very interesting. And I said, well, where can I read about this? He says, well, there's this poet named Rikyū, and you can look at his work. And I started reading this poetry. And I thought, well, this sort of ties in with what I'm writing about. And so that's how tea became part of the story. And there is a little tea ceremony in one part of the book, too. So that's that. Yes, Bob. Do I see Willis Gidney as a Zen-like character? No. I think Willis is kind of the opposite of a Zen-like character. But I think that he's having Zen-like thoughts, you know, forced on him by his friends. So, yeah, he's doing the best he can, I think. Yeah, the sound department has a question, yes. The question is, I work in the film community here. Are there any veiled references or not veiled references to characters in the book that, you know, someone might read this book and see themselves and say, hey, that's me? I don't think so. I think that most of the people are composites. I mean, like there's a political consultant, you know, and I've known and worked for many political consultants over the years. So the guy that's in this book is, you know, clearly a composite of a lot of different people, and not one particular person. But there is an Irish sound recordist who has a beard and glasses. I wonder if it's too late to change that. He gets the girl at the end of the sound guy gets the girl. Yeah, it's a spoiler. Sorry, I should have told you. Here's a question over here. Any elements of Cleveland in my storytelling or plot line? I grew up in Cleveland. Yeah, it's a great place to be from. No, I mean that seriously. It was really great growing up there. I had a great time there. I'm trying to think. I mean, sure, growing up there. I mean, it's got to have an impact. I couldn't say specifically what though. Yeah.